Kay's father, Francis Eugene Hilbrandt, was born in the U.S. and worked as a carpenter building new homes. Her mother, Elizabeth Murphy, an Irish-English immigrant, arrived in Ellis Island in 1911. They met in 1920 while her mother worked as a cook at the summer home of Milton Hershey, founder of Hershey Chocolate. Her father was building a house nearby and would regularly visit Elizabeth, and she would give him water to drink. They later married and raised 3 children together. Kay was born January 26, 1924, the middle child of 3, having an older sister, Marie, and a younger brother, Frank. Kay had a very happy childhood despite the struggles her family faced while getting through the Great Depression. Kay's father had a love for aviation, often visiting Valley Stream Long Island Airport, where many pioneer pilots like Amelia Earhart and Charles Lindbergh began their aviation careers. After moving to New Jersey, her father often took her along visiting nearby airports, including Newark Airport, where she took her very first plane ride at age 16. It was then she vowed she would become a pilot. Kay graduated from Jonathan Dayton High School in Springfield, New Jersey, class of 1941. She was anxious to begin flying lessons as soon as possible. She began flying lessons right away at the Staten Island Flying School in New York. Because of World War II, civilian airfields along the East Coast were closed for 50 miles inland. The Staten Island Flying School had to move to Martins Creek, Pennsylvania. In order to continue her lessons, Kay also moved to Martins Creek and worked as their secretary to pay for her lessons. Kay got word in 1942 that the famed aviator, Jackie Cochran, had recruited a group of women pilots to go to England for ferry duty. Kay would make it her only goal to become part of this great effort to aid her country during World War II. At the time, Cochran required these women to be 21 years old, and they had to have 500 hours of flying time. 18 years old and not having enough hours under her belt, Kay did not yet meet Cochran's requirements, so she would continue working hard to get in as many hours of flying time as she could, flying Taylorcraft and Piper Cub planes. She continued to work as the office secretary, accepting flying time as her salary. As the war progressed, requirements were later lowered to 18.5 years old and 35 hours of flying time. Kay was now 19 years old and had earned 75 hours. She jumped at the opportunity. August 18, 1943, she submitted her official request to Jackie Cochran. While waiting to hear if she was accepted into the WASPs, Kay moved to Trenton, New Jersey to work for Eastern Aircraft Division of General Motors. She worked as one of the first women mechanics on the TBM Avenger bomber, preparing aircrafts for their final test flight. At the time, Eastern Aircraft Division would be named the largest producer of naval aircraft in the world, delivering 3/4 of the 18,000 planes made during World War II. In March of 1944, Kay received the letter she had been anxiously awaiting. Jackie Cochran had accepted her to enter the WASP to begin training that May. On May 17, 1944, Kay and 111 other girls arrived at Avenger Field in Sweetwater, Texas, to begin WASP training. They were informed 50% of them would be washed out before the end of training. Kay shared a bay with 6 other girls. They were placed together by their last names and would also train together. They made incredible memories and would remain close friends long after the war. The WASPs received the same training as the male aviation cadets. They did their flight training in the Stearman PT-17, their primary trainer, the BT-13 basic trainer, and the AT-6 advanced trainer. During training, Kay would spend half the day flight training and the other half in ground school, learning navigation, meteorology, engines, Morse code, civil air regulations, calisthenics, as well as physical training and marching. After training, Kay was stationed to Eagle Pass Air Force Base in Texas, where male Air Force cadets received their instrument training under the hood. The Wasps flew as safety pilots. She loved doing aerobatics in the PT-17 open cockpit biplane and instrument flying in the BT-13. Of the 112 that originally entered training, 68 remained. On December 7, 1944, General Hap Arnold and Jackie Cochran presented Kay and her fellow graduates with their silver wings. They would end up being the last class. They soon found out the war ended and the program was disbanded. After all their training, they were simply told to go home. And so they did, completely heartbroken. They even had to pay their own way home. It was because of the Wasps volunteering to take over important and dangerous jobs that our male pilots were freed up to fly combat missions overseas. And though they were volunteers, they had entered training with the promise to become part of the military. These courageous women fought their way through prejudice and did what had to be done for their country. They tested and ferried aircraft, towed targets for live anti-aircraft artillery practice for male cadets, test flew and delivered 12,000 new and experimental aircraft and trained the male pilots to fly them, transported cargo, and simulated strafing missions. 38 Wasps lost their lives during these missions. One vanished while on a ferry mission, never to be found. Yet none of them would receive military standing or any veterans' rights. They would become lost in history with no recognition of the incredible role they played during the war. After the war, Kay returned to New Jersey and became a member of the all-women pilots organization that was started by Amelia Earhart called the 99s. She went to work as a secretary for the Bendix Aviation Corporation in Teterboro, New Jersey. When she obtained her flight instructor's rating, she left Bendix to go work as a seaplane flight instructor for the next 3 years, where they would teach World War II veterans to fly under the GI Bill of Rights, training them for private, commercial, instructor, and instrument ratings. In 1948, Kay returned to Bendix, where she would later become president of the Secretaries Club. Bendix Corporation is best known for building and installing the telemetry system in all ground stations for the first manned space flights. Bendix also developed the first cardio tachometer and respiration rate monitor system, so ground-based physicians could observe astronauts' vital signs while in space. The RIM-8 Talos surface-to-air missile was designed and built by Bendix, as well as the Mk-46 torpedo's electronics. While working full-time, Kay remained very active with the 99s organization and was named treasurer in 1953. She continued flying for pleasure and assisting the 99s in their efforts to promote women in aviation, sponsoring aerospace education programs, air markings, fear of flying clinics, promoting aviation safety, and presenting the Amelia Earhart Memorial Scholarship Awards yearly. The 99s also hosted events like the Penny a Pound event, making it possible for people, including children, to enjoy plane rides at low cost. In 1960, Kay competed in the spot landing contest, where she won first place for landing her plane closest to the landing line without going over it, landing just 11 inches before the line. Later that year, Kay and fellow female pilot Selma Cronin competed in the Powder Puff Derby, a transcontinental air race flying from California to Delaware. Out of the 76 planes competing, they took third place. From 1966 to 1968, Kay would serve as governor of the New York, New Jersey chapter of the 99s. In 1981, Kay would retire from Bendix Corporation and reside in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, taking care of her mother until she passed away in 1985. She would still remain active in aviation as well as an active member of the 99s. On March 10, 2010, in Washington, D.C., after over 7 decades of going unnoticed, the WASP were presented with the Congressional Gold Medal and recognized for all they did to serve our country. Sadly, by the time this happened, it was after so many of the women had already passed away. In November of 2013, along with famed astronaut and pilot Buzz Aldrin, both were awarded the prestigious Wright Brothers Master Pilot Award. This award recognizes individuals who have exhibited professionalism, skill, and aviation expertise for more than 50 years while piloting aircraft as master pilots. To this very day, Kay's first love still remains. At 95 years young, she still attends aviation events, WASP and 99 reunions, does radio shows, interviews, presentations, and of course, she jumps at any opportunity to get in the seat of any aircraft.